Good morning, kids, and today we're checking out a brand new video from Prog Magic, and it has been a while since he's done these types of videos, a Pokemon of every type. This time, a legendary bird. What's a legendary bird? Well, I'll let Brandon explain all of it.
The Legendary Birds, a trio of mighty elemental bird Pokemon introduced in the first generation of Pokemon, and later given regional forms in Generation 8. With 6 type combos filled by these birds, what might a legendary bird of every type look like? Hey everyone, Brandon
Got 12
here.
more to
And
go.
In August, I held a contest to celebrate us reaching 300,000 subscribers here on the channel, in which
Congrats.
you guys could submit your ideas for a legendary bird of every type. And Fungusmon and I would take those winning entries and redesign them into consistent designs for this video. That I would then give to the
That's
winners
cool.
to do with what they please. And boy, did you guys deliver. We had upwards of 600 plus entries to this contest, which didn't make it any easier to choose. So for every type, we'll have a few runners-up that I'll briefly discuss before getting to the winner and their redesigned entry. So let's begin with the pure flying type, our only single-typed entry in this video, which has some pretty epic entries like Cyclonce by Sassafrasinid, which is based on the Harpy Eagle, and that name is absolutely fantastic, or Thunderdose by Slarelzart, which is one of the most epic entries in this entire contest. But there was a concept that won me over more.
I bet that even though this one is just flying type, it would have access to electric type moves as well.
Than the epicness of these designs, and that is Newtsero by Lee's Fakemon. Before I explain why this one, allow me to introduce the redesign, Aerosero, the flight Pokemon. The initial concept was that of a baby bird, which is the base stage version of the legendary birds. Hence why it was initially named Tornadose as the 12th bird, but now has been changed to the 0th. Unlike the other legendary trios that have concrete origins, such as the legendary beasts or the Reggie trio, the legendary birds' origins are left ambiguous, which isn't helped by their Galarian.
Those Reggies really love to run on you, don't they?
Counterparts that add in another layer of mystery to their origins, insinuating these are completely separate Pokemon. So what better than a baby bird legendary that is capable of evolving into these Pokemon? It fits the existing narrative and explains how different legendary birds can exist simultaneously, and evolve differently when introduced to different elements, such as the environments each bird is known for, or even the Dynatree, which the Galarian birds frequent. With Lugia being the trio master of these Pokemon, perhaps in our headcanon, Lugia either knows about Aerosero or gives birth to them, raising them in different environments to become powerful Pokemon perfectly curated to watch over and protect those places. With Lugia being the Lord of the Sea, it would make sense for them to want eyes over the land as well, with the legendary birds being known for roaming across the Pokemon world. As far as Aerosero's design, Fungus and I wanted to make this feel like a Gen 1 bird, add in the feeling of a legendary Pokemon, and a pixie mythical like Mew, Celebi, or Hoopa, all the while incorporating the aspects of Lee's initial design.
And a whole lot of success.
3 little colored light refractions in the eyeball of Aerosero to reference the original 3 legendary birds.
Oh, I
just
like
the
it.
Pidgey and Spearow lines, there is no specific bird this is based on, and is just meant to feel like a generic bird, which adds up with it being a pure flying type and being capable of evolving into a bunch of different birds. Each of the original legendary birds' ability are pressure, but have hidden abilities that deal with their type, and 2/3 of them have to do with contact moves, with the last one having to do with evasion, which helps with contact. And the Galarian birds' abilities have to do with their stats being lowered or raised. So each of these new legendary birds will follow one of these rules, and if those abilities don't exist, we'll make new ones. For Aerosero's hidden ability, I feel Big Pecs would be appropriate. It has to do with its typing, and it prevents a stat from being lowered. Also, though the Galarian birds have base 90 signature moves, the original birds do not. But they do have very powerful moves of their type available to them. So yet again, some will have unique moves and some will just get powerful moves of their type. Aerosero would probably adopt Aeroblast as a signature move, seeing as in the lore we've established, Lugia is a mentor or parent to this Pokemon. Before we move on to the next type, if you're enjoying this video, I would greatly appreciate you hitting that like button, subscribing, and leaving a comment down below. It really does help and it means a lot to me.
Yeah, come on guys, it's free. Oh, we'll be right back. And we're back.
Whew, almost 4 minutes into this video, and that was just the first entry. So let's move on to the 4th number in the Spanish number system, which was designated for the water type, Aquatro. There were many cool entries that used physical water as a design element, such as these spectacular designs and concepts here. But one entry that sparked ideas in my head was this entry by Radical Reindeer. The base inspiration of this Pokemon is what got me. It is based on an animal called the Great Dusky Swift, which are known to make their nests behind waterfalls. I really wanted to feature such a unique animal rather than playing into things like a seagull or pelicans, with that design niche already taken by Winkle and Pelipper. So with that said, here is Aquatro, the stream Pokemon. This design underwent quite the transformation.
Oh, hey, hold on, look at its colors. It almost looks like a waterfall. Nice!
But we tried to maintain or put more focus on a few elements. We made the body and beak shape more reminiscent of the dusky swift, but kept in the element of a predatory bird by mixing in a peregrine falcon with the beak, but also in its feather pattern. We kinda gave it the hooded appearance of a trained peregrine falcon, which the hood cascades down much like a waterfall. And speaking of, we kept the literal waterfall tail. Fungus and I had a bit of trouble making it look dissimilar from Articuno's tail, which is already sort of river-like, but I think we found a good middle ground. Aquatro is the guardian over the rivers and waterfalls of the Pokemon world, being known to hide within or behind them. With its affinity for water, Lugia sees Aquatro as its successor, the heir to the title of Lord of the Sea. Its hidden ability would be Water Absorb, and the stronger moves it would get are Hydro Pump and Aqua Tail, which just fits way too well. Now we move on to the grass type, which I had designated Grassinko. Some of the runner-ups were this entry by Pewter City Gym, and this entry by Zavzav, which I thought were very cool, but ultimately a bit too similar.
Hold on, folks. Be right back. And we're back. Now, I'd like to say one thing real quick. This one kind of based off the Terabod. I like it.
To winners I had chosen for other types. And there was also Cactorse by Retroplasm that had a very Gen 1 feeling to it that I quite enjoyed. But ultimately the winner I chose was this entry by Juno or Loner Eevee, which they said also could be named Masenko, as it is based on golden plover chicks, whose plumage initially looks like moss in order to camouflage themselves from potential predators.
So cute.
So Fungus and I took this idea and created Masenko, the Flora Pokemon. We changed the design a bit to remove the flowers, which were a little too similar to Shaymin, instead opting for the foliage on the back to mimic a flower itself. We also took the moss and seed-covered body, which was a bit rounded, and fully leaned into it, making the back bush-like and mixing in some features of a kiwi, a plant named bird in and of itself. Masenko spreads the seeds on its back as it runs, fostering new life across the plains and valleys it calls home. This would manifest in its hidden ability, Seed Sower, which Juno had already picked and fits our parameters really well. Seed-based moves would also come into play, with it learning Bullet Seed, Seed Bomb, Sappy Seed, and even Seed Flare, Shaymin's signature move, which refers back to the original design connection. Rather than growing flowers like Shaymin's, Masenko's seeds grow grass, trees, and crops, filling a different ecological niche. And
not bad. Hold on, folks, we'll be right back. And we're back.
That is often matched with the grass type, especially in Gen 1, is Poison, which I had named Toxace. We had so many cool entries for this type. It was pretty much tied with Ghost for having the most entries in the entire contest. Like these by Luxray, Bag 22, Zebra Knight, Shark Guy 8, and even one from fellow Fake.
Oh, look at this guy. That one is actually pretty good. But I like this one that kind of gives off Plague Doctor vibes.
On PokeTuber to Drake
like
95.
it.
But the entry that won was such a unique idea that I had to pick it. And that is this entry by Rotund Howdy. It plays into the idea of chickenpox, which I thought was a fun twist on the idea of a poison type, centering around illness. I am also a sucker for a good pun, and so is Pokemon, so it's very fitting. Now allow me to introduce Toxace, the Pestilence Pokemon. We had to taper the design a little bit to make it more uniform with the rest of these birds, so we simplified the color scheme to just white and red. A bit of a general gross warning here. The chickenpox pattern has been changed to these almost boil-like protrusions that in combination with its neck poof and comb look like a form of regalia, with this bird being the monarch of poison. You would probably think, why would Lugia want an illness-based legendary Pokemon running around making people sick? Well, it's actually quite the opposite. Toxace absorbs illness from Pokemon, people, and even plants, which amplifies its toxic power that it stores in the spots along its neck, that it then expels at opponents via its mouth. Toxace's hidden ability would very naturally be Poison Touch, and its moves would be Gunk Shot and a new base 90 physical poison move called Infectious Peck, where Toxace uses its massive toxic beak to peck at the opponent. Like many other poison-type moves, it would have the chance to poison its target. I almost called the move Infection, but that felt like too much of a pun. Heading to 7 in Spanish, and a type that is weak to poison, we have Pixiete for the fairy type. Y'all cast a wide net as far as inspirations, and I loved them all. Like a biblically accurate bird angel by Ivy, a hummingbird by Lupo, and this epic entry by Chris Farias, who has actually worked with on the channel before. But the entry that won was this entry by Lady Nanachi Art.
Oh my god, it's beautiful.
This design gave off, feeling very in line with Titania, the Queen of Fairies, with its long robe-like wings and crest that emulates the wings of a fairy. The base of its wings are also meant to look like a fairy ring, circles of mushrooms which are said to be linked with good fortune, with Pixiete looking like it is being summoned out of this fairy ring. So Fungus and I took this idea and created Pixiete, the Fey Pokemon. Just like the poison type, we had to dial back some of the detailing, simplifying it to be more Pokemon-like while maintaining the aspects that made the entry unique. The shape of the wings was even altered.
By the way, hold on, before we continue on, I'd like to point out how I like this one a lot because it used the, I think it's called the, crap, I'm forgetting the name. Shit, we're gonna have to just move on.
Slightly to make it look like a heart. Pixiete has spurred many legends of fairies all over the Pokemon world because of its fairy-like plumage. Not fairy Pokemon.
I think it was called the Secretary Bud. I can't be sure.
Fairies. Pixiete maintains a regal and kempt appearance as it gracefully saunters across the forest it resides in. It stays in these forests for the span of years, slowly nurturing the population of fairy-type Pokemon within it. It is rarely seen leaving or taking flight, unless it is time for it to move on to the next forest or there is a danger present. The forests Pixiete leave behind remain enchanted magical places for years after it has left, some for eternity. The moves Pixiete would learn are Dazzling Gleam and Misty Explosion. Its hidden ability could be Cute Charm, but that doesn't feel like it fits the grandeur of this Pokemon. So let's make a new ability, called Enchanting, in which the target has a 30% chance of falling asleep after using a contact move on Pixiete. There are many fairy tales involving someone being put to sleep, or falling asleep in the wrong place and being captured by fairies. There is even Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, which has everything to do with fairies meddling in the affairs of humans, and has the king and queen of fairies, Oberon and Titania. I played Oberon in my high school's rendition of this play, so I have a particular fondness for it. See, I was always a bit magical.
That's me. We'll be right back, folks. And we're back.
Round is up next for what I call Giocho, which we had a bunch of varying entries that I all loved, like these here by Pop.
And this one, it's good, but it doesn't feel right. Now, this one based on a Vulture, that one is pretty damn good. I like it. I like it a bit more than the ball.
And F. Barnes 99. But an idea that became increasingly prevalent was that of a burrowing owl, a type of desert owl that makes its nests and homes within the ground rather than in the trees. There were a couple versions of this idea submitted, but the incarnation that inspired me was this one by Sidonia Regions. The general body shape gave me an idea which I can only explain after we introduce Giocho, the earthen Pokemon.
Not
bad.
The
way this entry was shaped made me think, why don't we shape the entire body like a hill or a mound of dirt? So the owl is literally within or burrowed in the ground. Giocho reside in deserts. Much like Pixiete, they don't move or fly often, living deep within the ground. They only come to the surface to protect Pokemon from harsh sandstorms and other natural events, by hiding them within their cavernous home. Given this lore, many of the sand abilities could work for its hidden ability, like Sand Rush, making it move faster in a sandstorm, which would be very helpful when needing to rescue Pokemon quickly. Its moves would be Earthquake and a new signature move I called Burrow Burst, a base 90 ground-type physically attacking move where Giocho digs a burrow underneath the opponent, creating a sinkhole that it then falls into, causing the opponent to flinch. Giocho has an okay speed stat, so this would be pretty powerful in combination with Sand Rush, but ultimately just a normal strong move if you go second. Speaking of normal, we have what I called Ordinueve. With normal, despite its name being varied in what constitutes its type, we got many differing entries. Like this Artist Bird by Vic, aka Low Poly Fungi, this Missing No inspired entry by Mr. Fruitnik, this Rooster of Barcelos inspired Pokemon by Builder Bob, and the most hilarious entry of this entire contest, Pizza Nueve by Trainer Ampharos. But the concept that caught my eye was that of Oriquatro by IVPL. The idea of a paper crane inspired normal type is fantastic, and becomes even more so when you mix in the idea of the 1,000 Paper Cranes or Senbazuru, a symbol of long life and commitment, usually offered as a gift to someone who is sick to wish for their recovery. So Fungus and I took this design and created Play-Nueve.
Who also remembers in Mario and Mario and the Origami King? According to that game, if you were to create, 100 or 1,000 paper cranes, you could grant a wish? But either way, I like this idea. Paper Crane Actual.
Wait, wasn't it named Ordinueve? Why the change? Well, its name is a bit of a double entendre, coming from plain, as in ordinary or regular, but also as in plane, like a paper airplane, which Play-Nueve's wings are reminiscent of. While we're on the subject, the wings are the most origami-like aspect of the design. We tried to take Ivy's design and make it feel like a living bird paper crane hybrid. The initial design kind of felt like an Ultra Beast like Kartana, or just an object Pokemon shaped like a bird, so we changed the eyes and made the body more bird-like. Just like Aerosero, Play-Nueve has these 3 colors throughout its design to reference the original trio. With Aerosero and Play-Nueve being the most normal birds of the lot, I felt this connection would make sense. Play-Nueve usually makes its home on the outskirts of small towns and villages. The Route 1s, if you will. It is said that seeing one at the beginning of your trainer journey means it will be long and fruitful. Its wings have razor-thin edges, making for a wing attack you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of. Which leads us into its moves. Normal type has an abundance of moves that would make sense for Play-Nueve, like Double Edge and Razor Wind. And yes, it would be more of a mixed attacker. As far as hidden abilities, not so much luck. Sharpness, rough skin, or tough claws could work, but they don't exactly fit the lore of this Pokemon or the parameters of the other birds. So how about instead we make a new ability called Paper Bound, which makes it so that when a contact move is used against Planoave, the user is now stuck in battle and has their speed lowered by 1 stage. We move on to double digits for the Steel type, which I had named Goldiez. The entries for this type were all very cool and edgy, pun intended, such as Gladiaze by Stellara and Albardiez by Dark Sylvania.
Not bad.
The winning entry of this one had a bit of a unique take on it, and that was this entry by fellow Fakemon YouTuber Matt Moore, with artistic assistance provided by their partner. The entry takes inspiration from a few things: the Quetzalcoatlus, a type of pterosaur from the late Cretaceous period, the Quetzalcoatl, for which the pterosaur is named, a draconic feather serpent from Aztec myth, and El Dorado, a myth of an ancient golden city hidden somewhere within Meso or South America. So with this idea, we created Goldiez, the metal Pokemon. We really only made slight changes to the design, such as elongating the beak to make it closer to the Quetzalcoatlus, and making the wings look like more of a uniform blade rather than the fanning that they did before. The head was also changed to mimic the sun, referencing Quetzalcoatl's relation to the sun, serving as the second son of 5 in an Aztec creation myth. We also tried to have a good color balance between bronze, silver, and gold, being 3 metals associated with each other. Steelwing, Ironhead, and Irontail are all a great fit as far as moves go. As far as its hidden ability, Iron Barbs could work, but I think Mirror Armor works even better, considering the only other Pokemon that has it is also a Steel Flying type armored bird. Goldiez's golden armor has led many to believe it originates from a hidden land of innumerable riches. Many have tried to follow it back to its home as it migrates, but none have been successful. This is due to the fact that Goldiez flies through the sky at incredible speeds, which are comparable to a fighter jet's. We moved from the physical to the metaphysical with the ghost type that I had named Shadowsei.
Oh, I was about to guess
Vultures were a popular option like these ones here that I really enjoyed. I also really enjoy these entries by Balog TJ and JX the Drawer. The entry that I thought worked best though was this entry by Jolly Mega 97, which is based on the Irish god.
Hold on, is it just me or does this bard look dapple as all heck? The bard's got drip.
Goddess Morrigan, a goddess of death which would take the shape of a crow or
raven. Got drip.
So with this concept we made Shadowsei, the soul Pokemon. We took the raven inspiration and played it up by making its proportions closer to one. We also changed the purple to more of a bluish gray because it felt too much in the vein of Galarian Articuno. Plus it kind of gives it that grayscale feeling, further playing into the idea of it being devoid of life or in limbo. Shadowsei are usually found in graveyards, but will journey to areas engaged in war, reaping the souls of those felled in battle, absorbing them into their wings. Some have accused Shadowsei of being a secret agent of chaos who incites these wars from the shadows. The truth of the matter is that Shadowsei takes these collected souls and dispels the anger, pain, and suffering from within them, and releases them to pass on peacefully. This manifests in its signature move, Soul Cleanse, a base 90 attacking move with a 10% chance to reset the target's stat buffs. Wandering Spirit, Galarian Yamask ability, or Perish Body both work very well as a hidden ability for this Pokemon and the overall concept.
I'm gonna give you my number
Hold on, folks, we'll be right back. And we're back. Let's go.
Halloween was just last month, so let's go from the spooky to the creepy crawly with the bug type that I had named Betrace. The very popular idea amongst entries for this category was hummingbirds, like these incredible ones here. An entry, though, that stood out to me was this one by Ton B named Infestrace. It's an odd but fascinating mixture of vulture, pelican, and wasp infestation. We took this design and created Vespidose, the infested Pokemon. For this design, I also wanted to strip it back a bit to help it fall in line with the other birds, because it just had a few too many details. But the core design was very solid, so we kept that mostly intact. Vespidose commands these insects like Shino Aburame from Naruto. They are drawn to the pheromones it emits. Its name comes from Vespidae, a family of wasps. It is also where the scooter brand Vespa gets its name. Which, I don't know how that's relevant, but suddenly I want to watch Luca. Swarm is a that's hidden ability as far as its name, but how it operates doesn't exactly fit. So I had the idea for an ability called Parasitic. If Vespidose is hit with a contact move, the user of said move has a 30% chance of becoming infested like the move Infestation. Attack Order and Defend Order would also be available to this Pokemon, which I feel fits great. For our penultimate legendary bird, we have the Dragon type, which was initially Dracaensei, but some things had to be swapped around after Aerisero swapped places. With Dragon being a very epic type, naturally the entries reflected this like these stunning designs. The winner, though, was this entry by Splat the Crystal. It is based around the Shoebill Stork, this incredibly unique and large bird that looks...
Yeah, if you guys have seen that thing just staring you dead on, it's creepy as all hell.
Looks oddly prehistoric. And this design was fairly simple, which allowed some wiggle room for Fungusinai. So with this entry, we made Cockatrace, the Drake Pokemon. The name was coined by one of my mods, Grandstar, based on the cockatrice. And even though Cockatrace isn't based on a chicken, the half-bird, half-dragon vibe still fits the name. Cockatrace make their homes in
Definitely.
abandoned castles or barren wastelands. It channels ancient arcane energy through its body, which you can see coming up from its throat. It will release this energy with its signature move, Arcane Blast, funneling the energy through its maw in a concentrated beam of swirling light, which does base 90 dragon-type damage. And while this may seem like a purely special move, the trick to this attack is that it will either be special or physical depending on which does more damage. A hidden ability I think would be good for this Pokemon is Moxie, or I had an idea for a new one that plays into its signature move. This ability would be called Mystic Scales, and would be kind of like Contrary. If you try to lower Cockatrace's physical attack, its special attack would then be raised, and vice versa. In tandem with its signature move, Cockatrace would be an absolute powerhouse legend fitting of its grandiose typing. Last but not least, we have the Rock type, which is what I named Rockatorse. The entry for this Pokemon had a wide range of concepts, and all of them definitely.
I kind of like this one based on the Gargoyle. It's not bad. Nor is this one Heal.
Rock.
Pretty damn good.
The concept that I found the most interesting was this one by Leah, I guess. Based around the rock, an enormous bird from Middle Eastern mythology, a dodo bird, and the Kuluyaku from Monster Hunter. And being the avid Monster Hunter fan that I am, it's no wonder that this design caught my eye. So with this design, we turned it into Rockatorse, the stone Pokemon.
There you go.
We
Oh,
changed
look
the
at
stone
its
elements
tail.
of this design to make them look more craggy, kind of emulating a Stegosaurus's plates. And the tail is meant to look like a rudimentary stone axe, feeding more into the prehistoric feeling of this legendary bird.
Damn
this Pokemon
right.
uses its mighty legs to run and kick rocks up at opponents, or down the mountains it resides in. This is shown in its signature move, Boulder Bash, a base 90 physical rock move that is 100% accurate and has a 20% chance to make the opponent flinch. This Pokemon's hidden ability could be Rubble Rouser, which is something akin to Toxic Debris, but instead of scattering toxic spikes, it spreads out Stealth Rock. And that was a legendary bird of every type, done with the help of our lovely community. A huge thank you to everyone who participated in this contest and celebrated 300,000 subscribers with me. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.
My back is.
And folks, that's where we're going to end off today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.